So here we are. This is not so much about the size of the monetary fine, but the principle of it. What does it say to you?
Yeah, there's been a number of these actions recently against, threats, veiled threats against U.S. companies. This is just the latest. Obviously FedEx is undergoing an investigation as well for rerouting some packages, and it's unclear, just how linked all of these things are. It's quite possible that that this is just an isolated case of an American company being fined. But when it comes after all of these different warnings that the Chinese government has put out, this list of companies that are unreliable, that they've threatened but haven't released any details on, it's hard not to assume that these are all linked and these are all part of a concerted effort to push back against the U.S. on both its efforts against the Chinese company Huawei, but also more broadly against the U.S. efforts on U.S. in the trade war.
James, good to see you. If that's the case, what is the effect going to be then on the trade dispute and more broadly on U.S.-China relations?
Well, the big problem now is there's just a lot of uncertainty for foreign invested companies in China. We don't know whether this is part of a broad campaign against American companies, and obviously I don't think they know either. So you would imagine that if you've got a factory in China or you're investing in China, you're going to be very concerned if you're going to be next on the list. And it just doesn't just affect American companies; it's also going to affect European and Japanese and South Korean companies are also invested here. If China decides that they're not supplying Chinese companies because of what the US is doing, they could feel they're also in the targeting. So if you're a foreign invested company, there's uncertainty that affects how you make your investment decisions. And then more broadly, this doesn't bode well for any resumption of negotiations with the US. If the US feels now that China is taking another retaliatory step, they might feel justified in doing something else, and then you have this this increasing tit for tat. You've seen a series of finger pointing over the last few days about who's responsible for the breakdown in negotiations. So all of these actions by both sides doesn't help to reach a resolution if a resolution is actually possible in the trade war, and also is going to hurt the Chinese economy more generally as companies pull back on investment.